Every time I make a video about Epic Universe, I look and sound like I'm hungover because I just spent 14 hours in the park yesterday. So Epic Universe is finally officially opened, and I gotta say, it was kind of a weird opening for a lot of reasons. I mean, for one, the line between the preview days and the official open days has been very blurred just because of how much full access we've already had to the parks for the last month or two. Even I had already been 3 times before opening, so when it came to official opening day, I was just okay. I guess it was just a little hard to get excited for it at this point. Not that I'm complaining though, I was very happy to be able to get into this park as soon as possible. But during the preview days, there was so much speculation of how things are going. Universal doesn't really like to come out and announce things like how many people are in the park each day. And so during the preview days, a lot of us were just speculating oh, there's probably about 10 to 15,000 people in the park every day, but once opening day shows up, there's going to be 50,000 or more. And so everyone's thinking all right, enjoy your preview days because this is the only time it'll ever be empty. Well, the preview days all come and go, and then it's time for the big ceremony. Universal invites over a whole bunch of celebrity guests, and they do this big giant live stream. Some of you might have noticed we did a live stream watch party on this channel where we just kind of reacted to what was going on. Well, I think a lot of us were kind of expecting some sort of ribbon cutting ceremony. And so during the live stream, it would just kind of show a bunch of interviews. There was the interviews of the people who worked on the park who were saying, oh, we're so happy to see it done. We're so proud of all this work. And then there's the celebrities that just say, oh, this is so amazing. I can't believe what they've done. And it was just kind of that same thing over and over again. So during the live stream, we were kind of just waiting around for hours okay, is anything gonna actually happen? Well, then at the very end of the night, after we've been streaming for over 4 hours, they finally came out something was gonna happen, and they did a huge firework and drone show. It actually looked amazing, but there was still no ribbon cutting or new announcements or anything we were expecting. So then opening day comes, and I actually get woken up by the sound of fireworks coming from Epic. So they were doing a pretty cool morning opening ceremony for the real opening day, and unfortunately I never had a ticket for opening day, but all of us just kind of watched from the sidelines, just shocked, looking at the crowds and seeing that there's nobody in the park. Where is everybody? The wait times for every ride were way lower than they were during the previews. And I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because from Universal's perspective, they realized that somebody who shows up to a day that is way too overcrowded, where they couldn't do anything and it was just a horrible day, is going to complain way louder than somebody who just was not able to get a ticket for the day they wanted to go. And so their goal was to just sell very few tickets so that the few people who do manage to go are going to have the best time possible, which makes the park look a lot better. But all the people who weren't able to get in, well, oh well, they'll just have to try another day. They're just kind of going for the Cartman Land strategy, I guess. And one of those people was me. 6 months ago when the tickets went on sale, Universal did not actually say when they were going to go on sale. I woke up at 6 a.m. on that day and checked and found out that they had gone on sale at 5 a.m. and I had just barely missed it. All of the opening day tickets sold out just before I got there. So I took the next best thing and got a day 2 ticket. Sometimes it kind of bothers me just how in the dark Universal likes to keep everybody. It seems like they like to do things without really announcing them, as opposed to Disney, who likes to announce things and then not do them. But Universal will just they'll just put tickets on sale without announcing that they're on sale, or they will just add a virtual queue without really announcing it, or they'll remove the virtual queue, or they will sell 10,000 tickets for one day and then 50,000 tickets for another day. But when you're buying tickets, you don't actually know that, and so it can feel like a complete gamble depending on what day you buy, because it could be an insanely crowded day where you can't do anything, or it could be completely empty. And you might even think that asking team members would get you some insider information, but I've noticed that every time you ask a team member, you're going to get a different answer. Even asking around about opening day, I've heard every number from 14,000 to 20,000 to 50,000 that were supposed to be there for opening day, which opening day felt less than half as busy as some of the preview days. So does that mean if there were 15,000 on opening day, there were, 30,000 on some preview days? But then some of the team members also said that the day after opening day was going to be 40,000, so it was supposed to be way more busy than the first day, but then it wasn't. So nobody seems to know what is going on anytime. You kind of just have to experience it. So anyway, I'm sitting at home just kind of watching the crowd trackers, just amazed that everything is a walk-on basically. But things did not go perfectly smooth on the first day, and that is all thanks to Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Who could have guessed? Now this ride has had so many issues ever since it opened, even during previews. It was under virtual queue for a long time, but people were really mad that they could never get the virtual queue, so they just said, just give us a standby queue. We will wait as long as it takes. And so a lot of the people who showed up on opening day, they are the people who were there during the previews too. So I guarantee a lot of people who were there opening day were just all right, I've already ridden everything in this park. All I care about is Battle at the Ministry. And so first thing in the morning, everyone in the park just floods over to Battle at the Ministry Ministry to get in this huge line, which had been pretty typical even the latest preview days. And so it sits at 300 minutes for a little bit, and then it goes down, and it's down for hours. So you've got probably half the people in the park all just hanging out, waiting for this one ride that's not even working. And then everybody else is just riding everything else in the park over and over again. But throughout the day, the ride eventually does come back up, and most of the people in the park are able to get on it. Well, then come to the end of the night, a lot of people are wondering, like, all right, are we going to get the fireworks show? Like, is there a big fireworks show that's going to happen every night? The same one that they showed to the media people yesterday. Well, the answer to that is, sorry, no. Universal's like, what, you want a fireworks show every night? Who do you think we are, Disney? And there was also a bunch of new opening day merch that Universal put out. A few things sold out completely to just the media and celebrities. And so the people who showed up on opening day couldn't even buy what they came for, even like people very first in line. And so from what I hear, there were some very angry people who find out that Universal gave a lot more preferential treatment to just the people in the media. But here I was just crossing my fingers like, please have low crowds tomorrow too. So day 2 comes around, and here's where my day starts. So based on the schedule, they say it's like early park admission starts at 8 a.m. and then official park open is at 9 a.m. So I don't have early park admission, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just stroll up at 8:30. Well, I just pull right in. The parking lot's like completely empty. I walk right into the park with no line. It's like 8:45, and like I'm just free to roam the park. So I'm like, did I need early entry? Like, could I have just showed up at 8? But whatever, I walk over to see Battle of the Ministry, and it's already at a 4-hour wait. So I just say, all right, I'm just going to avoid this for a while. I'm going to come back later this afternoon. So I just go start doing the other rides. I go over to Dark Universe, do both rides in like 15 minutes, and then just move on from there. Now, after they officially opened the park hours are actually quite a bit longer. They used to only be open for 10 hours per day, but now they're open for like 14. And so this entire day just felt like it went on forever. Because the wait times were so short, by 1 p.m., I had already done almost every ride in the park and had already had lunch. So I was actually considering just like going home for a few hours and just be like, well, I guess I'll just come back in the evening. But I stuck through it. I stuck in the park. But there were quite a few like funny things that happened to me during the day. That is actually just like a really interesting day all around. Starting with, so I go over to Hiccup's Wing Gliders in the morning. It's like a 5-minute wait. I walk like right up to the front. But we had a couple of problems here. So the guy in front of me in line, we'll just call him Fred, because I didn't get his name. So Fred sees that there's like one empty seat on the front row. So he's trying to talk to the grouper like, hey, can you just put me in the front row? Well then, like, I don't know what was going on with this grouper, but she just like starts talking to the people who are already waiting to get on and like telling them to like switch places, and they're just like, what? No, we don't want to switch. What are you talking about? Like, we don't want to get separated from our group. And so like they're just kind of like arguing about something. Like, I think there was a language barrier for like so long, to the point where a train shows up and then just goes almost completely empty, and I'm just kind of standing there like next in line like, why are we not getting seated here? So then Fred, he gets frustrated, but he's like, whatever. So let me just go sit in the back for the next one. So I get put next to him on the very back row. Well, then we do the whole ride, and then we get to the final breaks, and Fred just starts like freaking out, just like starts swearing like crazy. And I'm like, whoa, what's this guy's problem? And he's like holding his hand out to the side, and then I start to smell something, and I'm like, oh, did the guy in front of us just puke? And Fred's like, yeah, he puked on me. And so we pull up to the station. I'm like, all right, I'm getting out of here. And I start walking away, and I see that guy that was in front of us. He gets off and just spews all over the ground. But yeah, I don't think Fred had a very good day. But I'd later heard from a team member that if somebody pukes on you on a ride, you will get a free t-shirt. So keep that in mind. Another incident that happened throughout the day was I went over to Battle at the Ministry and was getting in the single rider line. And like, this was the first time I'd ever gone through the single rider line, so I didn't really know which way to go. But so I'm like following the path that they're telling me to follow. But then like one of the chains between the single rider and the standby line breaks. And so like the standby people all get confused, and they all start like pouring into the single rider hallway. And so I'm just kind of like walking in between all of them. I'm like, am I going the right way? Like, am I supposed to yield to these people? Like, who is going the right or wrong way now? So like 100 people from the standby are all pouring into there, and we get up to the front where the team members are like, hey, just so you guys know, you're in the single rider, so parties will be split. And they're like, what? We're not single riders. And the team member's like, oh crap. And they're like, all right, we're gonna have to take some time to sort through all of you because you've just skipped the entire queue. And it just became like one big mess. And like new team members kept coming around, like trying to figure out what to do. Someone comes in like, all right, are you guys single riders? And I'm in the very front, and I'm just like, I am, but most of these people aren't. And she's like, okay, you go ahead. So I went through, and let me just say, I got on Battle at the Ministry in about 15 minutes. So if you really want to ride this ride, do not go there first thing in the morning. Do not stand in a 5-hour line. Just wait it out. The line will go down in the afternoon. In fact, if we just look at the timeline of the wait time of Battle at the Ministry all day, this thing started out at 285 minutes. And then it just went down from there. And then for like the second half of the day, it was like 45 minutes. So whether you have a good day or not, basically just depends on, did you go to the the battle at the Ministry first or not. But because it was like so empty throughout the day, there were a lot of people who actually were able to just go and get their express for the day refunded, which is actually pretty cool of Universal to do. But people like, I spent like $250 to get an express for every ride, but every ride is already a walk-on, so can I just get my money back for this? So anyways, in the afternoon, I'm just riding Stardust Racers over and over again. I think I did it like 8 times yesterday. But I bumped into a guy who watches the channel, and he said that apparently we have like the same life, where he moved here, works from home, and goes to the park every day. And so we just hung out for a few hours, just doing a couple things. Then we parted ways, and I just kept meeting other new people throughout the day. I met this girl who was wearing the same shirt I was, and so we just kind of hit it off and hung out for a few hours at one point. But probably the coolest part of the day was late at night, we were getting in line for Stardust Racers at the end of the night. It's already dark, and so you've got these 2 queues that go side by side all the way up to the front. And I notice another YouTuber on the other side. You probably heard of Vincent Vision, and this was the first time we'd ever actually met, but both of us were like, oh hey, I like your channel. And so we actually got on the ride at the same time and got to race each other, which was a really awesome time. By the way, if you're gonna do Stardust Racers, you should be looking at the other train. You should be looking at like the race that's going on with you. I really don't understand, like every time I get on this ride, I'm always like sticking my hands up and pointing at the other train and just like waving to them, and then I look at all of them and they're just holding on, looking straight forward the whole time. And I'm always like, what are you guys doing? Like, come on, interact a little bit. I think that every roller coaster is way more fun if you are like not looking where you're going. You're kind of just like looking over to the side while the train is taking you where you're going. Anyway, it all turned out to be one crazy 14-hour day. Yeah, you could tell that Universal was really trying to play it very safe with their opening, so they let very few people in the park, and then they also overstaffed the park too. So I could definitely tell there were like more employees around than there really needed to be, which is better than not having enough. But sometimes you feel like they just treat you like royalty there, because so many of the team members are just like looking for something to do. Like you walk into a shop and there's like 3 people there just waiting to greet you. Or I was sitting at a restaurant eating lunch, and as soon as I ate my last fry, 2 seconds later a guy comes up and is like, can I take your plate from you? I was like, oh, all right. But it's really good to see all the staff in a really great mood. They just haven't had enough time for this job to crush their spirits yet. So something I was really trying to pay attention to all day is what changed between the previews and the official openings. And there are a few differences. A couple of them are pretty subtle. One of them I noticed is that there's now a splash pad over by the main fountain. So yeah, if you're ever really hot, you can just go splash yourself, I guess. On-ride photos are also now a thing. I kind of forgot that they were not even around during the previews, but you'll definitely notice a flash on the rides more now. A lot of the rides do seem to be running a lot better, which is good, because they were breaking down a lot recently. And I mean, they still do break down here and there. Stardust Racers broke down while I was in line like 3 times throughout the day, but it was usually only like for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. I also noticed that the prices of some things in the park had gone up. I think that when they initially put everything out into the park, they were kind of gauging demand, and maybe there were some things that sold a little bit too well. So like, okay, maybe we should make that a little bit more expensive. I also went looking for the Toothless backpack, and to no surprise, the thing is completely sold out, at least as of right now. I kind of knew it would be based on how cheap it was. Another big plus was just that the park hours were operating a lot longer, and we went later into the night. So all of the previews always ended at 9 p.m., but now they're open till 10. I still think we could go a little bit later. Hopefully they extended a little more over time. But this gave a lot more time to do some more night rides, and they actually had a really good fountain show at the end of the night too. I'm a little disappointed there's no fireworks or drones, but hopefully they'll develop something more regular for that. Luckily there was still like a lot of opening day merch. This shirt was definitely one of them. But I'm sure that the later you go, the less likely you are to find whatever's left. So let me just give one last review of Epic Universe, my final thoughts. I think that my biggest critique, something that I really wish that they had done with this park, was put some kind of like rest area around Celestial Park. You know, they talk a lot about how Celestial Park is like the place that you just kind of go to walk around and hang out, where you're not really looking for all the flashy stuff, you're not trying to do rides, you're just looking to spend time here and maybe rest a little bit. Except they didn't really give you anywhere to rest. And when it's 3 p.m., the sun is directly overhead and it's 100 degrees out, you're not going to want to just go sit out in the sun. So I really wish that they had some sort of like lounge somewhere in the center of the park that's like air conditioned, has some couches, has some water fountains, maybe even like some TVs playing. Make it something similar to like the family rooms and the child swap rooms that a lot of the rides have, but just like in the middle of the park, so that whenever you're just exhausted and you need a break, just go rest there. Because as it stands right now, you have a lot of people all around the park just sitting in the ground looking for any bit of shade they can find. One option you can go with is to just go and sit in one of the restaurants and just sit up to one of the tables in the air-conditioned room. However, when too many people do that, then they run into issues where people who actually want to get food can't get in. So yeah, I really wish the Epic and every park actually would do something like a rest area for people who are spending all day in the park and maybe don't have a hotel room next door to go back to. But now that I've done all the rides a bunch of times, I'll just give a quick breakdown of my thoughts on each one. So Mario Kart has really cool practical effects and animatronics and theming, but the augmented reality interactive part feels way outdated. You know how we sometimes say like, oh, that didn't age well? Well, this thing already hasn't aged well and it's brand new. The Donkey Kong ride, again, really cool theming, love the animatronics, love the vibes of it. But this ride is so rough and painful. The ride finally doesn't have much of a wait time now, and I have to wonder how much of that is because people realize that this ride feels like getting kicked in the nuts sometimes. The Yoshi ride, it's fun to sit down for a little bit, but I would not do it when the sun is overhead. Curse of the Werewolf, still not a whole lot to say about it. There's not much theming. Sometimes you'll spin a lot and it can be more thrilling than others. Monsters Unchained is really solid all around. I would say the biggest problem with this ride is that there are a lot of parts that feel like they didn't quite finish. So like the thing is pointing you at what it wants you to look at. And there's a lot of times where it's just pointing you at like some black curtains or like down at the ground or just like up at some stage lighting. And so it kind of like throws off the immersion when you see all of this like stuff you're not supposed to see. And there's just quite a lot of times like that throughout the ride. Compared to Battle at the Ministry, which I now have a lot more to say about. This is the big mysterious ride that everyone's been trying to get on. And it is a very unique, one-of-a-kind ride. I mean, it's moving you around these giant screens and animatronics, and you really cannot tell what's a screen and what's not a lot of the time. You know what's funny? The day I went might actually be the first time the Battle at the Ministry has been open from park open to park close without having any major breakdowns. And there's been a lot of discussions online. Some people say it's because they removed the drop. And so a lot of people are mad like, oh no, they removed the drop. That ruins the whole ride. Now it's pointless. Now, I rode it before and after the supposed removal. And I will say that I really didn't notice hardly any difference. Like if you hadn't told me, then I wouldn't have even noticed. Like maybe the drop is like slightly less intense. But what's so bizarre about the Battle at the Ministry is like, so when you're sitting down in your seat, they keep telling you over and over, do not cross your legs. Keep your feet on the floor. Do not cross your legs. And apparently there's like some sensor issue with this thing where if your legs are crossed, it messes up the sensors and breaks the ride down. And I gotta say, like after riding that a few times, like now when I go on other rides, I'm like, oh crap, am I crossing my legs? And oh wait, it doesn't matter. Originally I said the Battle at the Ministry and Monsters Unchained were basically just like an equal level of quality. But I do think that Battle at the Ministry seems a little bit higher production. And the complaint that I just gave with Monsters, how there's like, you see way too much stuff you're not supposed to see. The Battle does a lot better in that department. Especially if you're sitting in the back row, you pretty much only see what you're supposed to see. Then there's the Wizarding Show, which like, it's an okay show, but it seems like so far detached from anything Harry Potter. Then, of course, we have Stardust Racers. Amazing ride, tons of fun. Do it as much as you can. It does get a little bit rough sometimes, but just make sure you have more fun with it. No more holding on tight and looking straight forward, okay? Then there's the Carousel, which, it's fine. It has no line all day until it starts getting dark, and then everyone goes there. Then you got Hiccups Wing Gliders, which, if you're a fan of Hagrid, you'll like Hiccups. It's a good ride, as long as you don't get puked on. Then Dragon Racers Rally. It's a flat ride, but you gotta put a lot of work to make it do anything, and even then, it's not one you should ever wait a long time to do. And then there's of course the water ride, where you're just sort of spraying at targets and each other and trying not to get soaked. Or maybe you do want to get soaked. And then there's the Dragon Show over there too, which I will say is a very impressive show. Like both of the shows here do some insane practical effects. Like back when I heard that a show could break down, I didn't know what that meant. But after seeing the show, you'll understand this is a very technically advanced show. There's so many places in this park where you can tell that John Hammond was walking around saying, spare no expense. But anyways, that is all I have to say for now about Epic Universe. It's kind of funny, in my last video, I very specifically said I hate full day park days. And I've now done that 4 times with Epic in the past month. So to be honest, I am pretty burnt out on this park. It's probably going to be a while before I feel like going back because I'll still have to pay full price for a single day ticket. So hopefully the annual passes come sooner rather than later. I really have to wonder if the park will just be like pretty empty throughout all summer because there's not going to be any pass holders filling it up. If I had to guess, this is all just my speculation, is that Universal probably wants to wait until January to open up annual passes. But if the parks feel too empty, probably around September, there's going to be not very many people in it, then they might just have to be like, all right, let the pass holders in, we need to make some money back. But I definitely recommend, if anyone's considering going to Epic, you probably don't need to wait as long as you think you do. And I actually do think that one day at this park should be enough. But I mean, in my 14-hour day, I had done almost everything in the park by 1 p.m. And so I just kept repeating stuff for the rest of the day. Also, if you're thinking about getting this shirt, just know that they put so much ink on this thing that it's like making my chest all sticky. Hopefully washing this will fix that.